Hey everybody, it's Pat the Wine Guy. And if you have ever been on the Pat the Wine Guy site, you know we focus on information about buying wine. We like to talk about good wines at good buys in your store. So we tell people where they can find a good bottle and how much they're going to pay for it and where they can find it. So that's a lot of information about buying wine. But we're not talking about buying wine today. We're talking about tasting wine. What's the right way to taste wine? I'm here with an expert. Elizabeth Clark is the Associate Director of Education and Experiences at one of Oregon's iconic wineries, Adelsheim Winery, which is out in the hills outside of Newburgh and Dundee, right in the heart of Oregon wine country. Elizabeth, thanks for having us. It is great.
Thanks for coming out here, Pat.
Yeah.
Great to have you out.
So I'm going to ask you a tough question right off the bat, kind of devil's advocate. Is there a wrong way to taste wine?
Well, as long as you get the wine in your mouth, you're doing everything right.
There you go.
So there really isn't a wrong way to taste wine. And I think that's something that a lot of folks, as they're getting started with their wine journey, they come up with these different rules and this particular way that they're supposed to taste.
Sure.
We make the wine, you make the rules. It's kind of how we like to think of things around here. So if you want to just enjoy a nice glass of wine with some friends, or if you really want to dive into all the nuances in your glass, there's a way to taste for both of those styles.
So there is that wide spectrum.
There's
some people who just want to, I'll use the term, knock it back, which is fine, that's fine. Or those people who really want to dive deep, and I'll use this term, get a little geeky with it.
Absolutely.
You here at Adelsheim, you deal with all those people.
Mm-hmm. We have the full range of wine enthusiasts, the people that are just getting started, as well as the people that come in week after week to join us for all of our Saturday seminars. And we have the full list for the rest of the year on our website. For those guests that want to come back in week after week and pick my brain, they're always more than welcome to.
And we were talking earlier, and you just mentioned one tip that I wasn't aware of. Don't swirl immediately, but
Yes.
smell the wine first and then swirl in the glass. What's the thought behind that?
I always like to see how aromatic the wine actually is. So whenever I have a glass, I start off by picking it up and not swirling it and giving it a nice healthy smell.
Okay.
Then kind of gauge where I'm at. Did it have a high intensity aroma? Was it very low intensity? And then I give it a swirl, introduce a lot of air. These are nice big glasses, so I can swish it around quite a bit. And then I give it another smell. What new flavors am I smelling? Am I smelling more fruit? Am I smelling more spice, more vegetal aromas, more herbaceous or floral aromas? So that's something that I do also like to start
So
with.
clearly it's going to change after you swish.
Absolutely.
And this drives home the point that I think it always amazes people that 90%, if I get the statistic right, 90% of what you taste is dependent on how you smell.
Absolutely. So if you have a cold, if you have allergies, that can really make tasting difficult. Give it a good whiff. I'm getting a little bit of fruit out of it, but not a whole lot.
No.
Now we'll give it a really healthy swirl, which swirling also takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm getting a lot more fruit out of it this time
Definitely.
around.
By the way, I'm not the expert, but I'll give a tip. You don't hold the glass like this. You do hold the glass by the stem so that you don't warm up the wine inadvertently
You're a pro.
with your hand.
Absolutely, you're a pro. It also helps with, in case you have lotion or a fragrant soap on your hand,
exactly.
you're not going to get all of that aroma.
Of course, yes. It's a little departure here. Tell me about legs. Do legs matter at all? And by legs, describe legs.
Yes.
And tell me if they really make a difference.
So legs are those drips that you'll see coming down your glass. That's a pretty good indicator of the viscosity of the wine.
How thick it is.
How thick it is, how dense and how rich it is. It can also be an indicator of alcohol. So sometimes it will tell you something, but you have to put it into context with all the other criteria. And make sure when you're tasting your wine, it gets all over your palate. You want to make sure that it's almost like Listerine, you're swishing your mouth around. You want to do the same thing with your wine. So this is considered a higher acid wine.
Okay. I got a lot of cherry in
cherry.
A lot of cherry.
Super bright.
Yeah.
The wine also felt a little bit lighter. It didn't exactly have the weight of skim milk, but it also didn't have the weight of whole milk. So this would be a medium-bodied wine. It's kind of how we gauge the weight on your tongue.
In conclusion, for people who follow the Pat the Wine Guy website, and again, are just looking for a good bottle of wine to pick up on their way home from work, give me a couple of tasting tips rather than, again, they can do whatever they want. They can pop the cork, pop and pour, and that's fine. But if they want to add a little bit more appreciation to their wine experience, what are 2 or 3 things that you tell everybody?
The first one would be if you're buying a bottle that's kind of a bigger varietal, maybe you're not a Pinot fan. Hopefully you are a Pinot fan, you're in Pinot country.
Right.
But leave the cork out of the bottle for about 15 to 20 minutes, or pour yourself a glass and leave it for about 10 minutes. That's going to add a little bit more air so you can get more out of your wine.
Okay.
Swish your wine around your mouth a little bit more. Really taste it all over your palate. And think about it a little bit after you enjoy that sip. It's going to kind of help you appreciate the depth in flavors or the richness that you may not have experienced if you were just taking it back. And it may also help you identify what kind of food you want to pair with your wine. I love food and wine pairings, and I think each of these wines can pair with something as casual as pizza or as elegant as prime rib. And finally, enjoy it with somebody who also is appreciating wine at that point in time. You might have a new conversation.
And one tip I like to give people is, and this isn't a bad thing, but experiment, try different types of wine.
Absolutely, yeah. The best part about Adelsheim is we have a variety of different single vineyard wines. I mean, we're the first winery to be established here in the Chehalem Mountains, excuse me. Started back in 1971, and we've accumulated to about 6 different estate properties, each making their own unique single vineyard that tastes totally different from the others. So don't be afraid to experiment.
And this you can get by visiting the tasting room.
Absolutely. We are open 7 days a week, 11 to 4. Always more than welcome to stop in and say hi and do a tasting with us. But yeah, definitely make that trip down. It's not too far away from Portland.
Not at all. Great stuff, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Pat.
Really enjoyed it, and really enjoyed the wine. That's it from Adelsheim Winery, folks, and this is Pat the Wine Guy. We'll see you next time.